We have our first question submitted by Sean. The question is, can you discuss differences in treatment between campaigns and actual government agencies?
A government entity is an entity type. A campaign is a campaign that holds the messaging use case attached to a brand. So a brand, when it comes in, can be a number of different entity types: a for-profit, a not-for-profit, a government entity, a sole proprietor. And in each of those entity types, there are checks that we do to ensure that this entity type exists. Government entity, and John from Aegis would probably have a fuller answer than I would, but in terms of a government entity, we are looking at the typical, a city is a government entity, a current politician is a government entity, and these government entities have and can usually be found as government entities within the checks that Aegis does for verification. When a government entity is verified, then that brand that is registered as a government entity can then go forward and do a campaign. Now, the campaigns that they are doing, say, for example, within both T-Mobile and AT&T, they're given the highest throughput. On T-Mobile, it's unlimited, and on AT&T, it's the 4500 TPM. So if you're confirmed as a government entity and you're verified as a government entity via the Aegis checks that are being done, then the upside is that the campaigns, the messaging use cases, those campaigns that you're then creating fall under the high throughput.
May I add a little bit to that? Just to get a little clearer on that, and to give maybe an example, if we receive an application under a government entity type for Joe Smith for mayor, and the website that's submitted along with that leads to Joe Smith's political campaign because he wants to become mayor in the next election, that would not qualify as a government entity type. And there's the address and there's all of that, but if he also submits his campaign committee's address and the EIN that's associated with the campaign committee or his campaign, Joe Smith for mayor, that's not going to qualify as government. That is a political entity that requires political handling. Whereas if Joe Smith is already the mayor and he submits as Mayor Joe Smith with the EIN of the city that he's mayor of and the address of his office as mayor, then what he's essentially doing is he's applying to, as mayor, speak in the official capacity as mayor with public service announcements and things like that. That's a very different type of messaging. And so those are the factors that we have to take into account. So we're looking for, when it's government, that it's an established government position or established government entity that is doing messaging for the public good as opposed to political messaging.